we just want to say Jamie is our third grandson. We got all kinds of girls, but then, and he's the one that lives furthest from us in Mississauga. And he was the one chosen last year by our club to and sponsored to go to the Ventures in Citizenship program that the Rotary Club of Ottawa puts on every year. Except last year they weren't able to do it because of the introduction of all the rules on COVID. That was in March. Well, here we are this year, and they did make it up by saying, okay, they'll have an adventure in citizenship virtually. So I haven't heard too much about that, and this is an opportunity for Jamie to tell us all what the program is like and what he thought of it. So over to you, Jamie.
Thank you for sponsoring me and allowing me to do this program. It's obviously incredibly unique, and of course, like everything, like school, I'm in first year university at Ryerson. I just finished my first year. I'm going into my second in September, but like everything, how everything was online, and it's not quite what I expected, not quite what we expected, and so it was very different. So basically, what the day-to-day kind of looked like was there was meetings and links that we would follow, and programs and things that we like speakers that we were planning on listening to that was on the website, and we would join the session and we would listen in these massive groups. I think there was about like 110 plus people in these meetings, and listening to these different speakers. And so there were all sorts of different speakers and professionals. And one thing that I found really interesting about the whole experience is that I've never really thought or met any of these people before. The kind of people that these professionals that I met during this seminar or during these videos. So on the opening night, we met with a number of people, including people who had gone through the Rotary program and lived in Ottawa, and then later on we learned about people who are in the First Nations and in the First Nations community and what life is like for them. And then, of course, there's the whole catastrophe, which is brought back into light with the whole 215 children. But so it's just further brought to light kind of like what life has been like for the Indigenous people. But and furthermore, there was also there is a Swiss embassy living in Canada, obviously, and speaking on her experience. And it was quite interesting because on the very first day, we the students and I all in the chat of the video put into the chat our social media links. And so I followed everybody on social media and got to sort of know these people. And when I was on social media throughout the week, I was seeing all these people's videos about what they were learning about, what they were doing, and how passionate and how strongly they felt and how much they enjoyed this experience and being able to learn about being an embassy and how much they were interested in that kind of stuff, and learning about what life was like for the First Nations people. And it was really quite interesting to see where all of these different people's passions lie, and and all the questions they asked to the speakers and how they wanted to pursue that as a career. So with the Swiss embassy, I learned that many people are actually quite interested in learning multiple languages, taking political sciences, and doing that sort of thing as a career, so they can travel the world and be like an embassy for Canada. But safe to say that some of these speakers and these professionals really inspired some of the students, and have further allowed them to understand what it'll be like to pursue that as a career for the rest of their life. The embassy had gone to, I believe she mentioned she had lived in China as an embassy, and also maybe I'm trying to remember, I think she may have mentioned Australia, and then of course in Switzerland and in Canada. And so she had learned different languages, and life had been like, just, it was very interesting to hear her perspective and hear what she had to say and what her life was like. And then, of course, in our care packages, which we got tea. And so we was able to enjoy that strawberry herbal tea. Again, I suppose maybe you might not have known about the care package, but we were given a care package with a T-shirt and a number of other things, including a strawberry herbal tea that we were given. And so I was able to consume that with, it was a First Nation, a drink to be designed to be drunk with the First Nations seminar. And I was able to enjoy it with the other 108 students that drank it with this presentation. And it was really quite unique in the climate that we have, with everything being online and being so separated and being so distant from everybody, to be able to just drink the exact same beverage together in front of a person that is their culture, right? The First Nations people, with that drink that was designated to sort of be a little taste of what they are and what they have in their culture and their families. And so it just felt really unique in online, when everyone is so separated, to be able to just have something and enjoy something together, and then learn about it together online. So in regards to being online, I think Rotary did a great job with what they could, being, thousands of kilometers away from one another, talking to people from Vancouver and Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ottawa, like Winnipeg, everywhere, every province. It felt like I spoke to people from there, and I still follow all of those different people on social media. So and I get to see what life is like for them. And so occasionally I'll see posts from people in Vancouver, and it's like, wow, like this person really lives across the country. And it's just a very unique feeling. Sorry, I just need to turn off my phone. And one particular highlight was on the opening day, when they were introducing everybody. There was one speaker, a really passionate speaker, who I don't remember his name, but he was from Ottawa, and he was, I believe, a student in Rotary, and he'd gone through school in Ottawa and was living in Ottawa and obviously working with Rotary. And he spoke on his experience with Rotary, but as an icebreaker to begin the week, he got us to play a giant game, again, between like the 108 or 110 or 120 of us, of rock, paper, scissors. And so we all played, and basically we had to beat him. He would do rock, paper, or scissors or whatever, and we had to use the honor system and eliminate ourselves. And I was able to make it to the final two. And despite, beating all the odds, I was able to get to the final two. And what the speaker emphasized and spurred everyone else to do is that if you get eliminated, find a random person who still had their screen on, who is still competing, and cheer for them. Just, say their name in the chat, and give them encouragement. And so because I made it to the final two, I had like 50 people in the chat just typing down, go Jamie, go, or whatever, and giving me advice, telling me what to play, telling me what to do. And it was it was just a really interesting and unique experience that I've never sort of felt before. That kind of unanimous cheer, and everyone wants you to succeed. And it felt like for the rest of the week, or for the rest of the videos that we were learning, I was the guy from the rock, paper, scissors game that people knew my name, people knew who I was, because they saw me in that video and they were all cheering. And I, of course, knew who I faced. I ended up losing, unfortunately, but it was still a really unique and exciting, and it just put me in a great mood for the rest of the night, for the rest of the videos. So that was one, really impactful icebreaker that I really enjoyed. That's kind of what life was like during these videos, or during these conferences and seminars. I can also speak on my experience with school if you like, and feel free to ask me questions about what life was like during Ryerson, or being all online. I never went to campus once in Toronto. I'm close by, but I've never been to the campus. I've never been to a dorm. I had some of my friends who were in their dorm rooms. One of which was from Texas. She was from Texas, and she came to school to obviously learn in Canada. And so I saw her on Zoom conferences and did projects with her, without ever meeting them in person, without ever going to Toronto, without ever going to campus. So I'm happy to speak on that, and what life was like during the pandemic, with school and work and Rotary and anything. So feel free to ask any questions. Basil, is that how you pronounce
Go
it?
ahead, yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Jamie. You were interested in sports broadcasting. Is that still your passion?
Absolutely. I'm going to Ryerson currently in the sports media program. Again, I just finished my first year. I'm going into my second year, and I learned how to make podcasts and to edit videos and a whole plethora of new techniques to help me get closer to being. I'd like to be a host and talk about sports or news or just television in general, and just be on TV and talk about sports. And so that's my passion, and that is something that I'm continuing to pursue at Ryerson University.
Jamie, I assume your favourite sport's hockey, probably, is it?
It is, yes. It's a dead giveaway from my hat. I'm a diehard Leafs fan. Disappointed this year in the playoffs, them losing so quickly, but still cheering the Habs on. Hopefully a Canadian team can bring the cup home. So I'm a huge hockey fan. But yes, of course.
You've got quite a few, as we call it, football or soccer fans on the screen here. So.
Oh, okay. My best friend is from. He was born in Colombia and he moved to Canada. And whenever I go to his house, because during the pandemic, going inside wasn't really an option, I would drive over and we would meet at a soccer field and we would play soccer. And he's really good at soccer. And at the beginning of the pandemic, of course, I hadn't played since elementary school, and I used to play in the fields with my friends. So I learned how to play soccer again, and I've actually gotten a lot better. But I've certainly been playing quite a bit of soccer, and actually I've started to watch a little bit of it occasionally. Canada, I know this much, that Canada, our national team, is in the final group, is in an 8 group. Trying to get into the World Cup, and so they are defying odds, being quite successful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're apparently one of the most talented teams we've ever had. So it's I'm definitely going to be tuning into that. So, but I bet, of course, all of you know that, being soccer fans.
Yeah, I watched it last night.
An exciting game, a crazy blunder by the goalie.
Oh yeah,
that first goal.
Arthur, go ahead.
Jamie, would you recommend this program for other students?
So yes, of course, naturally being able to, of course, I didn't get to experience going to Ottawa, but being able to travel to Ottawa and to learn, I bet would be an incredible experience for anybody. Okay. And I would highlight that this despite that I'm in the sports media program and I did enjoy it, this program does teach a lot about certain things like the embassy is a great example. So this program would be particularly useful for students who would like to get into political science or become an embassy or do the kind of careers of the speakers that we're speaking. So I would particularly highlight on finding students that are related to the jobs that the speakers are talking to, because it's like talking to your hero. It's like talking to a person that literally does it for their profession, for their job. And so people are asking these really in-depth questions about what it's like living in Switzerland and what it's like living in China and learning the languages there and being an embassy. And I'm like, wow, these people are so rooted in learning this. Being a sports media student, I wouldn't even think to ask these kind of questions, but these people being so interested in doing what they would like to do for their future would be a really critical opportunity and something that would be really help them in the future, especially because we are just in first year university. So people are still learning exactly what they want to do with their lives. So I think, and some people weren't even in university, right? I don't think I would have been in university if we had done this last year. So these people are still trying to figure out what they want to do. And so finding people that are uniquely in line with the careers in which the professionals were teaching would be a great skill and something that would be really beneficial for them.
I'm a big Habs fan, Jamie, because I come from Sault Ste. Marie, which is a hockey town, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I have Sue Greyhounds. Wayne Gretzky played for the Phil Esposito from Sault Ste. Marie. And my son played hockey for 10 years. So go Habs, go.
Go Habs, go. Of course, at the beginning of the playoffs, I was certainly not a Habs fan, but at this point, I'm a Habs fan just as anybody else. My grandfather is a huge Habs fan, so I'm with him cheering on the Habs to see Canada hopefully bring home a Stanley Cup.
So go ahead, you got your hand up, your virtual hand.
Jamie, I understand that you're in the roofing business. Are you making sure that you don't get shingles?
Oh, that's all.
There's always one in the crowd, Jamie.
Jamie, don't
We have
answer
lots of
that.
comedians in this group. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, I have a
Jamie, did you have-
I have a question for Jamie. Real comment and question. Sounds like you had a very positive year virtually at Ryerson, and it's great to hear that things are still working and going well. I'd like to have your comments on what you see as the future for virtual learning, especially at the secondary level. I know you can't do everything there too well, like lab experiments or, you know, like a gross anatomy lab, so on for medical people. But it seemed that, what's your comment? Did you see a future for virtual education? Sounds like you're, or a blend of virtual and on-site education? Your comments would be much appreciated.
I absolutely do see a blend in the future. I think I would actually be for it. Interestingly, when I was in high school and I learned that that the government was thinking of merging, you know, with teacher cuts, instead of cutting teachers, we were actually able to save money by implementing like a quarter of your courses in high school. You have 4 per semester, so a quarter of your courses each semester would be online. And when I was in high school, I was like, thank goodness I'm out of high school this year. I was so glad I wasn't going to have to experience that. And then, of course, university and everything went online, particularly university. High schools went back a little bit. Elementary schools went back, but university and college was completely online. Initially, I was like everybody. I think I was dreading it. But upon doing it, especially at a level where you are responsible for yourself, I think that is one of the biggest challenges for online school, is that when you are responsible for yourself, you push yourself to be there, to have that attendance, to work hard. And if you do try, just like all the university students would have been, you can actually see, like, I got good marks and I learned a lot. You can use the teachers and their understanding with, you know, especially being in an online course like myself, where we didn't actually need as many physical labs because we were able to do everything online, like in Photoshop, which is an online editing tool for images and videos and such. But I could definitely see classes being merged into maybe a quarter, or, you know, even in extreme cases, about like a half of your classes be put, or parts of your classes be put online, because it actually was kind of there are certain blessings that were involved with online classes. Having almost all of your classes start, having all of your classes start, and you not having to, like in the mornings, I had a class at 8 a.m. And so in regular university, that would be pretty brutal for some people, because you'd have to go to bed with the understanding that you're going to have to wake up like an hour and a half before you had to be in class, because you had to spend like 30 minutes getting there and then an hour getting ready, and you have to have lunch or breakfast, and you have to have lunch ready and all these different things. But I woke up on some days 5 minutes before I had class. I woke up, got dressed, got ready, you know, brushed my teeth, whatever, got ready. No, I didn't eat breakfast because I was only doing a class for an hour, and then I'd go down and have breakfast afterwards. Like, there were some blessings with being able to have a class early and not have to wake up as early as I normally would. So maybe having some of the classes that aren't interactive, parts of it in person, could actually be quite beneficial, because it saves money and saves students time. But I am absolutely looking forward to getting back into in person for school, just because of how much I miss seeing people.
Annie, you had your hand up, or have your hand up? And then Maddie.
Yeah. I was Jimmy. I was interested in your comments about the embassy and talking to people in the embassy, and getting being able to see someone who was actually doing the job. We had a similar experience with my son. He was doing he was doing an engineering degree in Ottawa, and for his 21st birthday, we sent him to Shanghai.
Wow.
And the people that he was associated with in Shanghai were in the Canadian Embassy. So this was not virtual, this was actual, but I can see that it would be the same thing. Before he left, he said to me, the engineering degree is too hard. He said, I'm going to change. I'm going to do business when I come back. I'm not doing engineering degree. So he went to the embassy functions. He met a lot of people. He met a lot of high-powered businessmen. They all talked to him. They were all engineers. Every one of them, right? And they all said to him, get back to Canada and get your engineering degree. They persuaded him that he should put the work in and he should get his engineering degree. And that's exactly what he did. So although this was not virtual, I understand what you're saying. Being able to talk to those people and people that are doing the job that you want to do is really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like agree. Like being able to talk to those professionals and learn what they have been through. They have had that crisis when they are getting into the workforce and they go through trouble and they go through problems and they don't know what they want to do. And so you'll get I spoke to somebody who I just met recently through work. They're from China, and through tradition, through their family, they were pressured to get into university. So they got into university and did a finance course, and they said it's completely useless. I don't know what to do with it. So, and it's and then he says, now I'm just trying to pay it off and figure out something else to do. But I was pressured to do this through tradition, and now I'm trying to get through it. And that's on the obvious, of course, on the flip side, but I can totally understand exactly why those people were saying what they were saying, because you go through an incredibly difficult program like university. And what my parents have always told me about university is you're not learning specific things in university, because once you get to the workforce, you don't always need that knowledge. You're learning how to learn when you're in university, when you're in school. You're learning how to learn those strategies. And when you're doing the hardest courses that there is, like in engineering or becoming a doctor, you're learning what is truly effective and how hard you have to work to get what you want. And so no wonder that some of the most successful people in the world come through the hardest upbringings, and people have incredible trials that they go through or go through incredibly difficult school programs, because once you finish that, everything else is so much easier.
Maddie?
Hi, Jamie. You are wise beyond your years. I'm truly impressed. I have an 18-year-old who finished high school at the start of the pandemic and who's been in virtual university for first year, although she chose to stay in res away from us. You probably, I don't know whether you did the same. Did you stay with your folks or?
I chose to stay with my parents because of how badly I want to go into residence. I would love to go into residence and meet people. And I felt that I'm probably only going to do it one time for financial reasons, because it's like $10,000 to stay in residence in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
So I opted to say, instead of working like crazy hard to pay off the university, I'm not going to have any debts. My parents have offered to pay half my schooling and I pay off the other half, and same with residence, I would assume. So I'm instead going to work when I can and make that money so that I can pay for residence. And then when we get back into normal in the second and third year, I'm able to go to residence and live with full crowds of people and really get to experience that. But I'm really excited for residence, but I chose to stay home.
Seeing her go through what you're saying, I completely appreciate what a tough year it's been for everybody, but especially for your cohort who had to give up on so many rite of passages and do things virtually, right? But I'm sure it'll all come back manifold and you enjoy the rest of your university degree. But I had two questions for you. Do you have co-op placements in your program at Ryerson? So would you want to, for example, work at Rogers Sports and Media? They're going really big, gangbusters. That was one thing. And the other thing, kind of putting you on the spot, if you were asked to cover a sport that you know nothing about, let's just say cricket, how do you think you'd go about it? There are some hilarious YouTube videos of Americans covering cricket, and English folks covering baseball. So love to hear your thoughts on them.
So to answer the first question, I actually, one of the ways, I don't think this would have necessarily changed whether I got into the university whether I wanted to get into Ryerson. I wanted to get into Ryerson. Both my parents actually graduated from there. So my high school co-op, I actually worked at the radio station at Ryerson University, learning how to make podcasts, learning how to edit lectures and make them into podcasts so I can, so I could learn those skills and make those things for the radio station. So I did a co-op placement at Ryerson, which was free, and it was for hours in my school. And I learned a lot, and I think it helped me get, one of my references on my resume for Ryerson was the head for the radio station, which I knew would be, fantastic. And it was really interesting to meet all those people. And if I ever do work at that radio station again, I'll absolutely try to get into that program with those people so I can meet them so I can see them again. This year I chose not to pursue, I don't think we do co-ops yet. We don't do co-ops yet in university. But I've also chosen not to work too hard on getting involved with a lot of extracurriculars. I wanted to make sure I focused on schooling and see what it was like first year, especially because we were distanced. But when co-op time comes and when clubs open up, I'm going to be like one of the first people to try to get into it and really get into those co-ops and work with Rogers and work in sports and try to cover as many different sports as possible so I can learn what it's like, learn what I like, learn what I love. And because being able to learn, being able to understand different sports can make you better at really honing in on the one that you really care about. And to answer your question about cricket and covering a different sport that I know nothing about, interestingly, I actually made a podcast for one of my classes, and one of my plans with this podcast, I ended up going another way, but my initial idea was, what if my podcast was going to be called The Name of the Game. I did end up going with this podcast, but I didn't end up going with my initial idea of covering cricket. I actually was going to learn about cricket and teach people about cricket and baseball and soccer and a new sport every single week, every single episode, and teach people the basics of that sport. And so that was exactly what I would do with a sport that I don't know. I would learn the basics. I would learn, not even the basics, I would learn what it takes to play that sport, to understand that sport. I would watch videos. I've watched a little bit of cricket, and I do understand vaguely sort of like how the sport works. And I think it'd be really interesting to cover cricket and cover baseball and cover different sports that I enjoy. I'm a big fan of playing baseball and golf and hockey, but I don't know very much about other sports like cricket. So I would love to cover those different sports that I love and the sports that I don't know anything about. So if you're asking me exactly what I would do, I would watch video, I would practice, I would learn, and I would speak to people. I would interview people that are in these professional leagues, because I do know that Ontario has a cricket league, and I would learn and I would sort of interview these professionals, and sort of just try to put myself in their shoes and learn what it's all about. And I would be very excited to cover a sport like cricket, to just get more experience in covering something unusual.
That's fantastic. I'm sure all of us would love to listen to your podcast. When you are ready to publish it anytime, please share it with us directly or through your grandparents. Thank you, Jamie.
Put your hand up.
Yeah. Jamie, if you're going to cover cricket, you have to learn terms like leg before wicket and silly mid-on and things like that.
and bowler maiden over. Yeah, it's probably one of the most difficult sports to understand.
Dr. Beauty's got a question now.
Sorry, Dr. Beauty, go ahead.
Well, good evening, fellow Rotarians. Jamie, it's not really a question, but I don't know if it's going to be an information.
Oh, we're losing you.
You're frozen. Beauty, you're frozen.
Or something. But sometimes last year.
Can you restart your question?
No, it's not a question. It's just like it's
you froze there for Beauty. Can you repeat yourself, because you froze there for a minute, please?
Okay. I said I love broadcasting too. I did this skills for broadcasting from CJRU last year, March 2020. We actually told a story and I was on air on radio last year, March. I had to work for like 6 weeks to get that story out and then it was live. I love it, just that I can't do everything at the same time. I just want to encourage you and say thank you for updating us and continue to be focused. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you, Alan?
Yes, I want to speak to Jamie. Most of us on this podcast or this Zoom are inept at the social media. You said you were speaking to or dealing with all the people, the 120 people on a daily basis. What sort of social media platforms were you using?
The popular social media platforms that my generation uses right now, particularly for social interactions, there are some social medias like YouTube, which is really just for kind of watching videos about people who make videos that are quite popular. But for the social part of social media where you meet people and talk to people, I particularly use Instagram. It's quite similar to Facebook from my experience. It's quite similar. You follow somebody. So I followed these, I probably followed like 80 of these 120 people that joined this, I would assume, I could assume that maybe all of them, but I followed everybody in this chat. And how Instagram works is it basically, once you follow somebody, every time they post something, you will see it on your feed, and your feed is just every video and photo that the people who you are following when they post. So if I post something, all of the 500 or something people that follow me, if they are on Instagram, they will see it, and it's just constantly updating to see everybody who when they post, you see those videos and those photos. And so basically, because we were inside and there's really not a whole lot going on, no one that I know is really posting. It's actually quite staggering. During regular weeks, I'm seeing people post all the time. But like me myself, I haven't posted at all on Instagram except for a couple of occasions. Because what is there to talk about? I'm inside, I'm doing some sports occasionally, but I'm not doing anything extraordinary like, traveling or graduating or like anything. Everything's sort of the same during the summer when you're working and stuff. So my feed is usually empty, but during this event with Rotary, I all of a sudden had like 50 or 60 people that were posting every day, talking about taking pictures of, like, people would just grab their phone and take a picture of all of these people in a Zoom chat. And so I would see some of these classmates, and they would post a full video of a different speaker, and they would say like what a privilege it is to be here, what a privilege it is to learn from so and so about being in Switzerland or in China for these different events, and they would just sort of speak on how grateful they were and how much they've learned in these different events. And so I would see them post routinely about being able to learn from really wise leaders or people who are just professionals in their profession, and they were able to speak on what they've learned and how much they've enjoyed. And so I just got to see that, like, how passionate some of these people are and how much they want to get into this business.
So
Okay.
is Instagram...
Maddie, you got a question, and we make this the last one. Maddie?
I can
yes.
explain Instagram in just a second.
Yes, that was a great question, Alan. Thanks for that. Just quick question for you, Jamie. Do you use Clubhouse?
I don't use Clubhouse. I'm not familiar with it. Would you care to explain what is Clubhouse?
Yes. So Clubhouse is the latest social media app. It's a audio drop-in app. So and it's by invitation only. So if you're interested, I'd be happy to send you an invitation, and that applies to all my fellow Rotarians. If anyone's interested in joining Clubhouse, it's a fantastic app because there's no video, there's only audio. And once you accept somebody's invitation, it used to be only on iPhone, now it's also available on Android. People like Elon Musk are members of Clubhouse. And once you accept the invitation, you enter what is called a hallway, and you can choose various interests. So I speak German, so I look for German-speaking apps. German-speaking events that I could just join. And every room is moderated by one or more people. And then if you as an attendant wish to participate, you raise your hand respectfully like we do just now in the Zoom call, and you may be invited to participate as well. Some of it is frivolous. There's a lot of stalking and, the usual social media evils are there. But it's also a great opportunity to listen to some really good speakers. And I'm hearing of a lot of young people who are making good money on Clubhouse with advice. And then also in terms of networking and finding good mentors and things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll make sure to check it out.
Yeah, I can send you an invitation if you like, or I can send it to Peter. Peter, you can pass it on to Jamie. And give it a whirl, or let Peter know if you're interested, and I'm happy to send you an invite if you're not able to get it from anyone else.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that offer is on for everybody. If anyone wants to try out Clubhouse, it's a fantastic app. You can listen to it at any time of the day or night. You can visit any room and just listen. You don't have to even participate. Thank you, Jamie.
All right, thank you. Jamie, thank you so much. That was really, really good.